Hey everybody, welcome to Froggy Stonks. Nothing I say is financial advice, not a financial advisor. I'm going to be hosting a space call here shortly, basically about just dispelling Highcroft mining FUD. There's a lot of guys coming back that used to FUD up AMC like Blue Ice, a couple others, and we're gonna prove them wrong. What's up, man? Wait till a few more people jump into the call here. I don't know how many other calls are going on right now, but let me get you up here, man. Twitter being funky today. What's up, man? How you doing? Not bad. It's pretty beautiful here in New Mexico today. Perfect. It's like lake weather today, so I'm happy. Yeah, for the most part. It depends on what part, because Albuquerque in the spring and fall is beautiful. In the summer, it's super hot and dry. But if you live closer to the mountains and whatnot, you get a completely different weather zone. So, yeah, I'm actually going home to Michigan in about a month to stay there for a month and a half to work on my house there to get it ready for either sale or a new renter. So, yeah, I'm going to attempt. I'm going to put it up for more than it's worth because there's a lot of people buying houses cash in that area. But if I don't have to sell it, I'm not going to, because I like the change of scenery anyway. So,
yeah, it can be like your cabin.
Yep. Well, anyways, everybody, thanks for coming. If you can, please tweet out the call. I just wanted to go over some Highcroft stuff because I seen that Blue Ice snuck his way back into the feed today with another guy. I forgot the other guy's name. They're just fudding up Highcroft, talking about Highcroft has so much debt, there's no way for them to become profitable again, which is insane to say that right now because Highcroft's debt is lower than the cash they still have on hand. I think they have around 143 to 150 million in debt, and they have 173 million left of the cash on hand, which I think about 23 million of that was probably just spent setting up new operations for their new mill. Diane Garrett actually came out and hinted at that in her last announcement. So I think it's important for everybody to step back, take a look at the overall market for gold and silver, take a look at the team Highcroft has put in place and the resources they have available to them to get set up to, for the first time, to be a first-time full commercial scale mining operation. And also, if anybody wants to come up, please just come up, request to speak. It's wide open. But we're on the verge of if we're not living it now, if it's not a slow market crash, we are in a market crash, or one is coming that's going to blow the market apart because things are looking pretty bad. Now, in that, I think if you take a look back at the price of gold and silver and how it reacted to the 2008 market crash, it had significant runs. That's due to uncertainty in the economy. People want to hedge. They want to have a safer investment. They put their money into gold and silver. Gold, for the past 20, 30 years, say since 1999, gold has went from $251 an ounce to the US dollar up to $1,921 an ounce on, I think, let's see, 9/9/2011. So between 2006 and 2011, gold went absolutely parabolic. It started to dip off 2012, 2013, 14, 15, and 16, it was at its low. But if you look at the chart, it's formed a really large cup and a handle on the backside. if you go to the weekly or the monthly chart. Right now, we've just completed either A, a handle and are getting ready to make a huge run, or B, forming another cup in the form of a handle, getting ready to rock. Silver's actually coming off in a different pattern as more of a massive bull flag. So right now, there's a lot of people out there, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, multiple different large-scale organizations that know what's about to happen with this market, all calling for gold to go to $2,500 an ounce and silver to be 40, which I think is lowball. I think, personally, if we repeat the same trend pattern on the last market crash, gold will be closer to $3,000 an ounce and silver will probably be closer to 70 or 80. That's just comparing past runs in market crashes to what we're seeing now. So I think Diane Garrett, with her background, her knowledge of mining, over 25 years of successful mining practices, along with the Sprott organization, AMC's backing and resources in the current market climate, Highcroft is set up to become either A, a very, very good world-class, fully commercialized gold mine, or B, a perfect opportunity for another larger mining company to buy them out, which actually Diane Garrett was involved with in a past job where she took a mine from a startup to a multi-million dollar mine that was bought out. I forgot the company that bought them out, but they were bought out by one of the bigger gold companies. So now I see Blue Ice coming back into the play out of left field to start smashing Highcroft when him and Lou in the clown show were talking about selling AMC at $16 right before we ran to 34. It's just too coincidental that these same people keep coming around to the same play with the same retail investors trying to discourage you from getting into this play. Now, the one thing that I was concerned about is when we took this pretty heavy dip on the 14th. There's a reason for that. The 14th, April 14th, the HYMC call options were massive. There was over 111,000 open interest between $1.50 and $7.50, right? Or maybe it was just $7. But the amount was massive. Those call options got blown out by market makers massively. Everybody lost their premiums. The market makers walked away with the premiums, the short money they made on the way down, and the fun of laughing at everybody, like me, that was holding for a massive breakout, which I predicted should have came on or just slightly after the 14th. We were set up perfectly for it. Everything was lined up. We got crushed, and then the market conditions came back not in our favor, which turned into us going down and hitting $1.30, which I talked about in another video. I said if we don't hold $1.50, we're looking at $1.27 to $1.30. I'm going to pick up more shares, which I did. We had that nice run back to $1.70. Now we're floating around. We closed today at $1.46. If you go into Highcroft options chain for this week, for the 29th, you're going to see exactly where the price is probably going to end up landing on Friday, which is just under $1.50. This is why me and Froggy have been talking about this, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going after people who like to play options. That's not what it is. But the truth of the matter is if you play options, you are 100% engaging in payment for order flow. You're encouraging bad broker behavior because Citadel, Susquehanna, and Virtue are all paying the brokers for that order flow. And according to multiple articles that I put out on my Twitter page from 2001, over $3.6 billion was paid out by Citadel alone for payment for order flow, which most of it came from the options chain. The market makers are using PFOF as a crystal ball to front run every single week of trades that is going on with any stocks they're short on. It is a massive opportunity for them. So if you're playing options and you're making money, good for you. Nothing against you. But if you're really wanting to, especially right now, if you're really wanting to put the pinch on these guys, The way to do it is to cut off their revenue stream, which is mainly payment for order flow on these market makers. They're already in the hurt basket, in the hurt locker right now. They've got Bill Wang arrested with his cronies that are probably getting ready to roll on everybody. The stock market overall looks like a dumpster fire with Netflix, Facebook. People have been selling out of Twitter because they were worried about what Musk was going to do, which is a big mistake. I think that was a huge mistake for funds. You have a firm, Carvana, whatever they call it, absolutely took a dump. Robinhood is down to $8 a share. They are hurting massively for liquidity. So we need to stop as retail investors giving them any extra liquidity, which is all it would take, in my opinion, is 1 month of everybody just buying raw stock and trying to direct it through the lit exchange. I think 1 month with no options may, on AMC, Highcroft, GME, would absolutely slap hedge funds and market makers in the face. They wouldn't have the information to front run the trades. They wouldn't be able to manipulate the options chain because they're the only ones playing it. And they wouldn't make any money from payment for order flow. They would get absolutely slaughtered. And then they would have a mass of buying pressure coming from the backside of retail doing the same practice that threw AMC to $71 in the first place. Again, on Froggy Styles channel, we talked about a very good example. DWAC run to $175 the day the SPAC was announced, mainly because there was no options chain to play. Market makers couldn't manipulate it. So that's kind of my theory on that with the Highcroft situation coming forward. But let me pull up the options chain for Highcroft here. It's got 336 open interest on $1. I do not think we'll hit $1. It's not worth it for them to push it down that far. But $1.50 has 3,300, $2 has 4,200, $2.50 has 2,500, and then 3.8, and then $5 has 1,786 in open interest. So here's the interesting thing is that we're already sitting at $1.45, 46. We had a $1.70 run that looked really, really good for a descending wedge breakout that I think we actually haven't broke out of. But we're looking at April 29th to be directly under $1.50. So the call options fall out of the money. And it's funny enough, the only puts you really see being played against this are at $1.50, $2, and $2.50. There's not many of them, but that's all they need because they're the market maker and they can win no matter what. So Friday, all these premiums could get lost. Market makers pay a little bit of PFOF to brokers. Brokers engage in bad behavior, and the stock goes below 150 and hangs out until Monday, Tuesday. It's almost predictable enough to plan your dip buys on. So that's my theory on that anyways. But overall for Highcroft, I did some DD a while back, and I went over all the previous earnings for 2021. It looked like during mining operations before November, they were burning about $9 million in cash a quarter, which relatively for their size is a little bit. But they were also bringing in during those times a lot higher in the quantities of gold and silver they were mining. Like, let's see. They just put out their April 26, 2022 Q1 prelim. They said gold ended March 31st at 5,358 and silver was 16,861. Now compared to, let me pull it back up here. Q1 in 2021. Let's see, first quarter, here it is. May 17th, first quarter 2021. They had 13,858 ounces of gold and 94,845 ounces of silver. But they were still in full ROM mining operation mode. They've been shut down since November. So that $9 million of cost per quarter that they were having for their full mining operation has been reduced drastically. So in comparison, I think Q1 March, they probably brought in about $10.5 million on material if they sold it, which isn't bad considering that I think over I would say 60 to 70% of the cost incurred during full mining operations is from labor, equipment, mining, getting the ore out of the ground into the processing sites. So going forward, what is Diane Garrett doing? Diane Garrett, Dr. Diane Garrett, is restructuring the company in a more efficient style and manner to bring them up to a world-class, fully commercialized operated mine at the most perfect time you could possibly do it, right before a gold and silver breakout and the London Metals Exchange backing out of their plans to have gold and silver traded like they were comics. It's really, really interesting. She has a proven work history. She's educated in all the fields that she needs to be degreed. And she has multiple resources that anybody at Allied Nevada Gold previously, which was Highcroft previously, didn't have. They didn't have the structures and resources. In that, they've identified that Allied Nevada Gold, back prior to Highcroft renaming, didn't even run assays for silver. They were only looking, and this is all in their report, they were only looking for cyanide soluble gold. So if they've underestimated, which they said they think almost 40% underestimation in silver assets, during a time when silver is at over $24 an ounce and getting ready to go up, compared to back in 2016 or 2015 when silver was like $16 an ounce, that's massive. Their heap leaching process was not very effective at getting silver out of the pay dirt. They've said that. They've been dialing that in for the past 3 months while they're getting their new POX process, the oxidization pressure process, that is much more efficient in getting gold and silver and other materials like copper and uranium out of pay dirt, set up and fine-tuned. So not only are they going to have still a full year of heap leaching, which is all sitting on the pads being processed right now, they're going to start processing their ore through the POX process, which I believe is the new mill they've set up to go back over all this waste material that they're going to reclassify as ore. If they didn't identify the silver assets and the physical visible gold assets in that waste material when they processed it last, they can rerun that all, finish off their heap leaching, fine-tune their new POX process, and come up with almost 2 to 3 times the production values that they had previously. So it's just super interesting that people are still trying to FUD this. I got a couple questions from YouTube here. Let's see. Question: can't they just take the profits from other tickers and play games with you? See, here's the thing. You're talking about the options chain. Any options you buy, doesn't matter what company it is, they are going, you're engaging in payment for order flow. Doesn't matter what it is. So yes, okay, say we don't play options on GME, AMC, and Highcroft, but say market makers are price fixing other big plays and you think they're going to bring that money back to AMC, GME, and Highcroft to try to mess us up. At least we're still not giving them more money from our plays. So say you play AMC, GME, and Highcroft options. They're making money on that plus their other plays. The point is for retail to cut off any and all liquidity that we are funding to market makers immediately. We've been our own worst enemy for the past 8 months. In that is why Citadel and these big market makers want companies like Robinhood. They made Robinhood to rip us off, and then when it failed and we caught on to it, they just shorted it into oblivion. They're destroying their own selves. We as retail have to stop giving Citadel, Susquehanna, and Virtue our money. It just has to happen. Got an email about some sort of vote. Yes, the vote. I did a video on the Highcroft proxy today where I went through and I actually addressed each individual board member and why I voted for them or didn't vote for them. You can find that in my feed. The most important thing I found is let me go to the Highcroft board members here. I forgot the guy's name. There was one guy who's more of a financial expert in the mining industry that they're using at Highcroft, who was hired at Highcroft, that I found. He had offices with Bear Stearns, Morgan Stanley, and okay, those are the officers, and another Deutsche during the 2007 period. That threw a huge red flag up for me. Like, I was immediately like, why? Why is this guy here? He worked for fucking Bear Stearns during 2007. What good could possibly come from that? And I'm not saying that everybody that worked for Bear or Morgan or whoever was in that disaster is bad, but it's a definite red flag for me, just like when I brought up back in November, Stephen A. Colanero working for Blockbuster and Radio Shack back in the times when they weren't doing so hot. And then he magically, after those companies collapsed, got put on the board as a director for AMC Theaters. And then in Q1, after everybody gave us a rash of shit for calling him out for a month or two, he ends up getting, and I'm sorry, to me it looks like he got fired. It does not look like Stephen A. Colanero is retiring. He sold off every bit of his stock he could, and then they came out with a one-line headline saying, Stephen Colanero is retiring. You don't do that for somebody who's worked there for 12 years. You're like, we're sad to see you go. Here's your token of appreciation plaque. We're going to shake your hand, pat your back. You've been a real asset to the company. No, they were like, yeah, he's retiring. Moving on. Doctor Strange pre-sales, Batman pre-sales were great. Let's see. Let me actually pull up the Proxy again, because they don't have the full listing of names on the Highcroft website. But there was one individual who works in the financial areas for this annual meeting. Oh no. I don't want to mess up his name and be disrespectful, even though I didn't vote for him. Okay, here we go. Election of Director Thomas Weng. Look up Thomas Weng and see his history and where he's been. It doesn't look good to me. And I might be wrong, but when I look at if I was hiring him for a mining operation that I knew was embattled by short sellers, predatory shorts, and I saw he worked for Bear Stearns and Morgan and a couple other people, I'd be a little concerned. So that's where I went with that one. I hope that answers your question. Go back to YouTube. See, TF Hatter. Check it out. Thank you. Yo, I got several notifications, I guess, because I bought so much. There you go, buddy. Chris Burns. Sound like they trying to get them from the inside. That's exactly what they do. The big hedge funds, Citadel, Susquehanna, Virtue, Melvin Capital, Archegos, they all pay to play. They buy a massive position long. They get somebody on the inside that's going to rip the guts out of the company, cause all kinds of internal strife, and then they take out a massive short position at the appropriate time when it's most beneficial to them. So they're already hedged against their own short because they bought shares to put somebody in on the board of directors. It's such an insane strategy, and I think Stephen Colanero was put on the AMC board of directors specifically to destroy them from the inside so Amazon could come in and buy out the market share. That's why Amazon was going for the MGM deal. That's why they got the bond titles. They knew that streaming was going to fall off the face of the earth, which it is and did. And I mean, you didn't even need to think about that because Kramer's the one who was pushing streaming services. So that's a disaster in itself. But the vote's important, you guys. I got too many people in my DMs today going, I voted. I was like, who did you vote for? I don't know. You're voting for people into your company and you don't even know who they are. And you're invested in it. We got to do better. Apes evolved. It's just like when I put anything not even politically oriented, either left or right, but if it's anything just political that could benefit the movement, I get the lowest engagement out of any of my tweets. As in tomorrow, we're having Matt Dubiel or Dubiel. I got to listen to his voice to see how he pronounces the name. He is coming in to talk to the community tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern on our Twitter Spaces call and streaming on YouTube, which is super important because he actively called out Ken Griffin on Twitter yesterday and said he wants to listen and hear what we have to say because he is running for the Illinois Senate seat for the U.S. Senate. Super important. Not even 2 weeks ago, I was telling people on Twitter, I think community-wide, we should focus on Illinois because it is the seat of power for Ken Griffin. And he came out with another tweet and said, Ken Griffin doesn't want a new governor in to make Chicago better. He wants a new governor in for Ken Griffin to own a governor. So he gets it, man. He owns a radio broadcast station in Elmhurst, right outside of Chicago. He's familiar with the city layout. He's obviously familiar with the Chicago politics. He wants to hear what we have to say. I'm not saying support him or don't, but if we land a senator in Chicago, in Illinois, that makes a huge wave and a big voice for retail, and Ken Griffin will absolutely hear it. I promise you that. So on that, back to Highcroft. I actually heard a couple people say that they thought we broke out of the descending wedge. I'm not fully convinced we did. If you go and zoom out, maybe on the 2 hour, the 1 hour, or the 30-minute, but if you zoom out to the daily, and I think that's where we got to start looking at this stock, is more on a long-term aspect. Like Diane Garrett said, they'll be full scale by 2023. I still think we are just getting ready to break out of the descending wedge and reclaim $1.60 as a bottom, and then go and try to run for that $1.70 mark. But what's going to happen, and I hope this is obviously a prediction, is that Diane Garrett's going to come out with another video or another statement saying their new mill is up and running. They're going to start reprocessing ore that was classified as waste. So now they will have two sources of production at Highcroft, which is the heap leaching and the POX process. I think they'll continue their heap leaching while material is on the pads until it's complete, and then they will probably shut that down due to the high cost of the chemicals and hazmat required to maintain that process. I think in that, if people stay away from the options and contribute to pure stock, raw stock buying pressure on this at the level we are now, which we bounced the 130 level, which was a support for one of our last big breakouts. This thing is a $3 stock all day. I think the 342 run was a good sign of that. What's up, Congre? Congre 123?
Stock. I was kind of curious as to change has been on a while and that got a position into Highcroft. How are you on that complex?
Honestly, it's if there's one thing I know how to do that I learned from college, it's research. It's not a matter of you're an expert in something. It's, do you know how to research properly to teach yourself what's going on in that industry? I know a little bit about gold and silver. I know a little bit about metallurgy because I was in aviation operations for a long time. And sheet metal and heat treating processes and whatnot are a very, very important part of getting the correct temper on your aluminums and steels and things you need to build aircraft for stress and stress analysis. Now, mining in itself truly is not that complicated of a process. I think the complicated part is knowing how to identify where the gold and silver actually is and how it's actually mineralized into different deposits or fallen into like old riverbeds. For the most part, it looks like Highcroft is mining from quartz veins, mineralized deposits through quartz veins through geological fissures. it's just it's a mix of everything I've done: military, aviation, my college at Embry-Riddle, business management, and just a fascination with learning everything. I've done nothing but DD Highcroft since Adam Aaron announced it on day one. The reason that I'm more on Highcroft than I am AMC lately, which don't get me wrong, I still own AMC. I'm going to the movies almost every week, is because I think Adam Aaron led us to the waterhole. I think he knows AMC's hands are tied in trying to be more aggressive on pushing any type of action against the predatory shorts due to, say, the debt covenants or whatever it is. But Highcroft is not. AMC, Sprott, and Mudrick are investors in Highcroft. They're not CEOs. So their rights to appeal or complain about this are greater than they would be for their own companies. I think it's super important to understand that, since Diane Garrett, Dr. Garrett, is wearing a effing rocket pin on her vest every time she makes a video. They put short squeeze scenario speech in their earnings reports and in their preliminary reports, talking about what a short squeeze is and how it happens. Before the at the market offering, where we went from, say, 60 million shares to 98 million or 198 million outstanding, the short interest on this stock was through the roof. It was well over 40%. Yahoo was saying 98%. Some was saying like 1100%. It was just ridiculous. We're sitting now, actually, I didn't check it today, actually, but we're sitting now around 8. And let me make something clear that short interest does not directly predict a squeeze potential. That's not, you can have a company that's shorted beyond belief, but they could be a company like Caravan. Oh, that's the options chain. So HYMC short interest. So since this started, the short interest has technically went up, even though the number's smaller due to the dilution that we faced. But it's not a problem because they raised $198 million doing it, which is going to allow them to operate. So Fintel's saying right now the short interest is 5%, which is, I don't know if I believe that. I think Ortex was showing 7.5 or 8. But it's still at the same level or going up compared to when we started this. The cost to borrow, I have to get back on Ortex later and look that up, the cost to borrow. What's up, Con?
I was curious about this more. So, no, I feel the fundamental company, and I'm more rising. It's like that.
Honestly, I'd have to say the push that we just had to $3 was momentum. It was excitement and hype. But Diane Garrett came out and said, we'll be full-scale commercialized operations by 2023. Once the price of gold corrects to its proper value, which is definitely at least $2,500 an ounce, and silver too. That's the big thing, is silver. Should be around $40 an ounce. Once they corrected those prices, they're going to stay there for a while. The gold didn't start dipping back off until, let's see, 2019, 2016. From 2008 to 2012, that entire time frame, gold just went up after the 2008 financial crisis. It's dipped all the way from 2013 to 2019. And in 2020 is when it started rocketing back up because of the pandemic. Pandemic woes started easing. It kind of formed a little cup, and then it spiked again because of the overall condition of the market, which I don't even have to go into that with you guys. The long positions that these big hedge funds that are shorting this company and AMC and GME are in the dirt, man. They're in the gutter. Netflix is almost a 77% loss for anybody that's been holding it since Jim Cramer said buy. So even if they're not upside down, a lot of their liquidity just dried up. And that's not to mention the stuff going on with Russia and China. The biggest thing about this is the gold fever was misleading. The silver is what we're really looking at. They have the potential to mine insane amounts of silver. They put out a slideshow covering a 2008 study they did that showed insane mineralization of silver up into a 6,565 grams per ton of ore find. That is insane. So if they're going in now to mine these, I don't want to call it a Midas mineralization because that's more for gold, but it's a mineralization to the point to where you can see solid crystallization in the minerals mixed with the silver. I forgot what they call that. Let me pull it up. That's a big deal. Oh yeah. I'm in Albuquerque, man. You know, that's how we roll. Yeah, you know, I actually do a lot of trading on my headset, but my kid stole it to take it home to play Attack on Titan this week, so. But not buying any land really in the metaverse. No, I think buying land and assets in the metaverse is going to be a bubble, and I think metaverse is going to end up being more free, just like the internet kind of did in a way. Let's see here. Recent presentations. Let me find this silver terminology for this find they had. I know what page it's on. If anybody else wants to come up and talk or ask questions or any disputes on what I'm saying, please do.
Spence.
Boom. Well, one, the overall market conditions of the economy are absolute disaster, right? Like this, I don't think we've seen the worst of this. I think we're going to see an absolute crash. They're waiting for midterms to do it so they can try to throw it on a political party. But in between all the analysts saying that gold is undervalued from Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, whatever other banks that are saying that, plus the fact that they've been hoarding more gold this year than any other year in the past 16 years, tells me that gold is undervalued currently purposely so people can stock up on it. The big financial institutions can stock up at a fair cost to make a profit coming out of this market crash. Silver demand is going to go through the absolute roof in the next 5 years. Semiconductors, cell phones, aviation operations. Silver is used in mirrors, photovoltaics, everything.
I guess. Last time I looked, saw some reports of different country oriented dollar.
Yep.
Especially those to Highcroft.
Well, when the Russians decide that they're not necessarily going to back, but they're going to link the ruble to a certain amount of price per ruble per gold ounces, that's a big indicator that not only was our country under attack economically to put us in this situation, but China, Russia, and a lot of other people knew that our hedge funds were doing the same things all over again. They knew we were overinvested in Chinese business practices controlled by the CCP, and they knew our military budget expenditures have gone so wildly out of control that we're not going to be able to maintain our current form of financing in our government. We've printed so much money during the pandemic that the US dollar isn't worth shit anymore. A pack of gum costs nearly $2, if not more. It's They have different morality as a company. Well, Arizona Iced Tea, if that's true, if what I read was true, I seen that tweet, then they have a strong moral compass in their company and a very, very smart advertising campaign on their morality, which makes me want to go buy Arizona tea now, right? The trick with them is the product they're producing to put into the aluminum can doesn't cost them really that much when they sell in volume. The aluminum can is what's going to cost them, but all they have to do is move to plastic. It's not that much of a, they can maintain their profit margins without raising the price of an Arizona tea. And they said 99 cents, but if you go to the store and actually go find an Arizona tea, you're probably going to pay more than 99 cents for it, which is a markup maybe from the grocery store. Price gouging is a very real thing. Absolutely. The fuel right now, half of that is price gouging. The other half is state taxes. The taxes on fuel and commodities are insane. Consumables. It's absolutely crazy. Michigan is like, I thought they were like 45, 50 cents a gallon or some shit. It's insane. The entire problem with everything that I root this back to is government. Government allows too much fraud to happen. They waste too much money, and all their hands are in the cookie jar. They wage wars that we can't pay for that cause world hunger. We leave equipment in war zones for people we were fighting to take over and terrorize their own countries. It's insane what our government has been doing the past 20 years. And then introducing endless moral hazard into the consumer marketplace by allowing people to get loans they can't afford and talking about canceling student debt. You chose to go get a student loan to go to college because A, your parents either said you got to have a college degree or you won't make it, or B, you just thought college was cool and that's what you wanted to do. Very few people who go to college actually have a plan, a degree path, and a career in mind when they're 18 years old.
I believe that that's their fault.
Yeah. I went to college because I served in the military. Should I get the $50,000 in my GI Bill back? No, absolutely not. That's nuts, man. Someone who took out $86,000 to get a bachelor's of art in underwater basket weaving and can't get a job at freaking Good Burger, that's not our problem to pay for. That's that individual's problem to pay for. There is no morality in the financial industry. There's zero. The fact that the government allowed student loan lenders to give out college loans at 8, 9, 10% right there is insane. When you're trying to produce some type of fair market in a country, you have to monitor and restrict unfair practices without restricting profits. And the way to do that is to work with the colleges and the lenders saying we need to get college lending affordable, but we need more rules on why you're getting the loan. You shouldn't be able to just go get a college loan because you say, I want to go to college. The loan process should have underwriting where you say, I'm getting a college loan because I'm a welder. I want to get my new certificates in aluminum welding for aviation, and that's why I need the money. Then they have an assurance that you're going to be able to pay that loan off later. College loan lending to every and anybody in America or the world just because you feel like you want to go to college is a scam.
It's also predatory. You can't file for bankruptcy. So, like, you get it and get right where file for pretty much. And so, like, but at the same time, I would say the value of a college degree has declined drastically.
Oh, yeah. So
because I've actually
so
absolutely disgraceful.
Jay, I'm on YouTube holding up my Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University Associates in Business Administration, and I got my bachelor's hanging on the wall. I had to brush the dust off it because it's been sitting there so long. I can go and work any aviation job I want right now, which is what I did for almost 20 years. But the stress, the intercontinental travel, and the money I was making after taxes, I took a step back and I said, what in the hell am I doing? We can't hear him. Oh, yeah, I guess I should put my microphone under my phone so you guys can hear the space call. There we go. My degrees right now are not being used. I'm in my apartment or my house in Michigan or whatever, just making my stock plays, you know, which I could go and get an aviation job doing something and make money on the side, but I don't need to right now. That's the whole point. Is I'm glad I didn't pay $50,000 for a degree. I joined the military and decided to use my benefits. But there's another option for people who have massive student debt, and that's public service. The problem is people rack up massive student debt. They get a victim mentality because of the predatory lending, which it is unfair and predatory. But that's the lesson you learn. Don't go out and take out predatory loans so you think you can have this wild dream of becoming a scientist in some company that you've never even heard of before. Have realistic expectations. Take a step back. Tell your kids after high school. Say, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know, Mom. I'm kind of, I'm not ready to go to college, or I am ready to go to college. If your kid's like, I want to be a doctor, this is what I want to do, then go for it. But if they're not sure, tell them this. Let's get you into a program to get you certified at welding. Let's get you your nursing license. Let's get you into a computer, not even computer programming. Let's get you into an IT role and certified to be an IT guy. You can get hired immediately at any company. You do not need a 4-year degree to get these jobs right now. Sandia Laboratories in Albuquerque is foregoing degree plans for people with experience because nobody wants to work.
Yeah, once you have about 2 to 3 years of industry experience in tech, they don't give two shits if you have a degree or not, and it's not going to impact your pay either. So at the end of the day, and that's why I was saying, like, I feel like a vast majority, and it works for some people, right? But a vast majority of the computer science programs out there are really just a waste of time for most people, because they're going to spend years and years learning a bunch of stuff that they will never use in the industry, and the industry will retrain them anyway. And if you go out and you get into one of those, get into a boot camp and find yourself a mentor and start working on small projects, like, you'll work your way into it in a matter of a few years. You'll save tons of money that you would have spent on a degree, because believe me, I would much rather have that money in my pocket today than it having gone into, a degree. At least in the latter few years, right? The first few years I think were pretty good for me, but I dealt with so many bureaucratic issues that it took away from my education. Like the administrative side of UT Arlington is just absolutely abysmal, and it ruined my education experience. And I mean, this was a school that was rated top 25 in the entire country. I think they were 23 when I entered into their computer science program back in mid 2000s. So I mean, it goes to show that it's not for everybody, and that if you find a good technical program or you find a good trade program, they'll get you trained up in the way to get into the right jobs, and then you can get your industry experience to then go bounce anywhere you want.
Jay, let me finish up on this. I took us so far off topic. The silver deposits, the high grade silver vortex drilling they did in 2008 discovered a large area of sulfide gold and silver with higher grade silver values. They're bringing this back up in the new presentation because back in 2008 through 2016, they didn't necessarily mine this material and or they didn't care to process it because the price of silver was terrible. So you have hole HO9D-3768 from 311 to 314 meters at 5 to 1 meter intervals of the sample at 2,285 grams per ton of ore of silver. And on the including hole, which is in the same hole, just another sample, or another part of the core, they found 6,535 grams per ton of silver of the ore. They also had the gold wasn't as big, obviously. They have higher grade gold finds at 1.4 to 5.4 to 9.8. But that amount of silver for digging in one area is astronomical right now. So that is the slide from the Highcroft Mining Aligned Team Discipline Development Shareholder Focus, the corporate DA&O update from April 2022. So for them to put that in, a find from 2008 to now, what's going on is they're identifying all the assets that are actually there for once, for real, and they're getting ready to capitalize on them. What's up, Diva?
Hello, good evening, everyone. When you guys were speaking about college, this is what I think the problem is. Because I'm an old school parent. I think that the kids, you have to do what the parents say because the parents is paying for it, and you don't want to embarrass the parent. That's kind of like embarrassment that your kid don't go to college. And I'm speaking from an old school parent who had to put all five through college. So I think that's the issue going around. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. As a 2003 graduate, I decided to join the military in part because a lot of my friends were going to college. I told my mom, I watched my brother, who's 3 years older than me, go to Central Michigan. My mom worked 3 jobs to put him through a full year of college, right? He ended up doing nothing but smoking weed, drinking, and failing his courses. And he was a very, very good student. 4.0, honors, everything coming out of high school. College absolutely ruined him. And my mom paid the consequence for it. And I sat and watched and said, I will never put my parent or my mom through that situation where she's going to have to work her fingers to the bone for me to get a degree in something that I don't even know what I want to do yet. I was still happy delivering pizzas in high school, man. I loved that job. So I decided I'm going to join the military like my other brother. And it matured me finally to the point to where I knew that aviation was something I truly wanted to do for the next 20 years. And I did. I got my degrees in it. And now at any point in time, I can go back to it. I didn't pay a dime for it. My mom didn't pay a dime for it. And that's why when I call her and tell her Christmas is up, I said, yeah, you owe me $50,000 for college I didn't take out from you. So you can buy all my kids Christmas presents. It's a joke, obviously, but imagine if my mom at that time said, I'm going to take the $30,000 I would have spent on you for the next 3 years. And instead of giving it to you, I'm going to put it into the S&P 500 from 2003 to 2000 and let's see, when I got out of the Army, it was 2009. Even from then to then and through past the market crash, we would have ended up with hundreds of thousands of dollars instead of me wasting 30 grand on college.
Are you sure about that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
What do you mean am I sure about that?
Was it like the rule of 7 on average for doubling?
Well, from 2003 to say I got out in 2009, you're making your 15% a year, 30 grand over the next 10, 20 years, and not even 15% at sometimes. And that's just a general 15% from the S&P. So.
Well, also kind of from 2003 to 2009, there was that, housing crash thing.
Right.
that kind of tanked the whole market. But what Khan's referring to there is the rule of 7, where if you make 12% every year for 7 years, you double your money after 7 years.
Right.
So it depends really on the compounding rate and whether or not you are putting money in every year, you're doing a lump sum at once, what the, how you're taking profits, if you're taking them, et cetera, right? But I mean, like, in the right investment strategies, yeah, you could, but I think from that particular set of years, probably a little bit more difficult to do so.
Yeah, well, I'm starting to get the feeling, Con, that you're not here for mainly general good intent because your tweets are protected. And I hate to say, I'd like to ask who you are a little bit, considering that, because this community gets hit with a lot of FUD and people who don't necessarily wish well on the community. You coming in and saying you've been a big fan of my YouTube for a while is kind of making me wonder who you are.
Well, Spence, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them to me. So I feel like I haven't done anything, too bad.
Why do you protect your tweets?
It's because this is a personal account.
Okay.
And I'm interested in finance, and it's my personal account. I don't want people to know about that.
I'm on my personal account.
Well, and I'm not attacking you, man. I'm just saying we get attacked a lot, and some of the questions you have been a little, I don't want to say not aggressive, but...
Spence, please point out to me what I said.
The last thing you just asked me come off as a little condescending, to be honest with you. You just came on, you're like, are you sure about that? And then you started clicking your pen and all your keyboards like you're typing something up.
No, I mean, I think that, as Jay Brett said, the financial crisis going into 2008 would have wiped out everything.
Not if you protected it. I'm not saying that we're just going to sit there and let our money just sit without watching the market conditions. Obviously, we would have put it into somebody managing the money. It's a general idea that over a period of 20 years, instead of a parent paying for college, if they put that money in an investment account, you would come out with no debt and double your money.
Yeah, I agree with that. I apologize for coming off harsh. It was just the 6-year horizon that you gave.
No, it's all good, man. It's a generalized example. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what your intention. If you follow me on YouTube, do you have a YouTube?
I do not.
So you told me that you followed me on YouTube, but you don't have a YouTube account?
You don't need a YouTube account to watch YouTube.
So who are you? What's your username on? So you just get on the internet and just open up YouTube without any type of login?
Yeah.
So you don't follow me?
No, but as I said, I'm interested in finance and I've come across you.
Okay, that's fine.
I've followed what you posted.
We get attacked a lot, man, and there's a lot of bad actors out there, so I'm just trying to figure out who I'm talking to.
Pretty rude. But I did have some questions about AMC, for example, because that's originally how I heard about you. And so because AMC has a minority interest in the mining company, why don't you just buy that and get exposure to two companies? And what do they have? They own greater than 50%.
They own over 33% with 3 other companies owning the same.
Minority interest, Spence.
The reason okay, dude, look here. When you own over 33% of an entire company, if you're going to technically call that a minority, I get what you're saying. But for 3 companies, Sprott, AMC, and Mudrick to all own either that amount equal to or most of the company over 60%, I'm not considering it a minority because they're all playing against the predatory shorts. Now, the reason I buy Highcroft is because AMC has stalled out mainly because I believe some of the community have diluted themselves too far out into other plays, and or the payment for order flow options chain price fixing has been happening so long they've been able to beat the price down with the market conditions not being in anybody's favor. Now I own AMC but I see a greater opportunity in a squeeze play with Highcroft, which would then in turn, if Highcroft went to $10 a share, AMC would have over $400 million past the $27 million they put into that investment. That amount of money and assets on their books helps AMC more than me owning another share of AMC, which I don't even know if is real or not, because we have been already told that retail owns over 90% of the float. So in my opinion, Adam Aaron has led us to the water hole. It just depends on if we
Shut
want to
up,
drink or not.
Spencer, you stupid little
Here
cunt.
we
You don't even
go.
hold any AMs.
Yeah, I figured this was gonna happen. There's Lord Fed coming in on a new account.
Lord
Yep.
of Lies, man.
There he is.
We haven't
And then-
Sounds like
So-
I need to start pulling some IP addresses.
So Con,
Hey, Con,
how did you come
I'm
across
a big
me?
Con, I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel, bro. Been following you since day one.
Con, how did you come across me? Not just on YouTube, but you said through AMC you figured out who I was. So did somebody tell you about me, or?
I saw that AMC was an active stock a while ago, and I put the ticker into Twitter and come across some of the top posts.
And you got one of my posts as a top post?
Yeah. Is that a surprise?
Yeah. I definitely will not pull a top post on Twitter for AMC. I'll tell you that right now. Not on Google. No way.
No, I'm not talking.
Was it a
about
Reddit
Google.
post or a YouTube post?
I'm just saying you go to Twitter and you type in the cash sign plus AMC, and
Okay.
it'll say either top or most recent. And I saw you post something.
Do you-
It was a while ago though.
Do you know who Lord Fed is?
No, who's that?
The guy that was just in here acting up for a minute?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, I'm not, like I said, man, I've based my entire platform on here off of being non-monetized and completely open, which is why you can go to all my profiles. You know exactly who I am and where I am. So I get that you want to protect your personal information online, which I absolutely think everybody should do. But this is the first time I've seen you. You've said that you've been following me for a while. And then on the back of some of your kind of aggressive questioning, Lord Fed popped in. So it's a little curious to me, but either way, if I'm wrong, I apologize. I appreciated your questions, but I think we need to probably move on to the hands that are up. If you want to DM me on the side and talk more about this, my DMs are wide open for you.
I appreciate it, Spence. I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Right on, man. You too.
Cheers.
Who? Oh, there's Deke. Who was up next? All right, yeah. Okay, so we ended with the silver.
His name is Con.
Con. Well, you can't ever tell, man. I mean, he's protecting himself, and I'm trying to protect myself. So, and the community from any.
Con. I waited 5-10 minutes just to say that, and I won't say the 5 other things I want to say.
Well, you know, when Lord Fed comes in on the backside, it's just everybody out to protect their energy. That's what we'll just leave that at. So,
Yo, that was suspect. I'm trying to look up his IP address.
As Spence, he did exactly what he was trying to do, get you talking about anything but the gold mine.
yep. That's why I kind of want to get back on topic.
Yep, as soon as he started bringing up that other stuff, you knew exactly where he was going.
Well, it was good conversation to have too. I mean, Jay Brett jumping in on college and whatnot. It's important economically overall, but the subject changes. We need to get back on subject. I mean, now, so Highcroft, again, on subject, Highcroft, do they have debt? Yes. They have more cash on hand than they do debt. Diane Garrett has a very successful track record. Adam Aaron is very bullish on it. He was very enthusiastic about it. Eric Sprott is a very well-known, successful precious metals investor with multiple acquisitions and loans and investments across the entire platform. Has been actively pushing against predatory shorts for years. Has a side thing called Save Canadian Mining from this exact practice. So now you got Diane Garrett, Adam Aaron, Mudrick, and Sprott all teamed up into the same company with a lot of retail apes behind it, 30-40 million more in cash than they have in debt, and what it looks like to be new milling operations standing up and reprocessing of old material classified as waste to be reclassified as ore, with in the last 2 years, new earth mover purchases. The mill is either being purchased or built, and the POX process being defined as their new going forward standard for refining, which is much more successful. A lot of big Russian gold mines use POX. They use ball grinders and they use POX processing. They don't use heap leaching. Heap leaching is very, very expensive due to hazmat costs. So in that, the most of the FUD that I've heard is that Highcroft went bankrupt. They didn't. Allied Nevada went bankrupt. They reclassified as Highcroft. New owners, new CEOs. They say that Highcroft's expenditures exceed any type of possible profits, which is insane. We just saw them bring in, on a very, what I would say, a bad quarter for gold and silver for production, over $10.5 million when they were at full operations, run of mine operations. Before the November shutdown, they were burning about $9 million a quarter. So that's right there. That tells you something right there. With the coming up of the next sorry, I got a comment I got to read. Poyo Burner, you're the bully, my friend. Miss Harris is lining people up on my YouTube. Thank you very much, Diva. The new processing, the new production style is going to increase their production greatly. It's more efficient. They can actually get copper, silver, gold, and uranium out of the POX processing. So uranium, I know everybody was talking lithium, tinfoil hat, but I actually think maybe uranium might be another side goal, because the Sprott investment group is huge on uranium right now. And Nevada actually has, if you look at the geological studies from the .gov sites, very large deposits of uranium right through that area. So with POX processing that, if they can actually make a profit from that, that would be great. I would say the biggest downfall we could see, my worst case scenario, is that all the data is wrong from the core samples, which actually they only have 30% of their core samples processed due to a backlog because of COVID and the COVID restrictions in the lab environments. So they have over 40 to 50% of their core samples that are going to come back from analysis. If all their studies are wrong and they don't have all the deposits that they say they do, which is very unlikely, then they burn through all the cash we just gave them. They're back down to $10 million with their original debt, and they say we need to do another offering. I think what'll happen is they're going to set up the mill. They're going to rehire staff. They're going to get everything running full commercial scale operation by 2023. They're going to burn through at least half to 3/4 of the cash we gave them just for new equipment, new processes, studies, and any expenditures not associated with just general mining. Of course, you're going to have some of that money paid for the startup of the mining. But we get down to $20-30 million cash. They start processing. They start producing 2 times the amount of gold and silver normally produced in the 2021 periods. And in that time frame, I'm counting, and this is speculative, on gold going up well past $2,000 an ounce and silver up past 30. Now, if anybody thinks that speculation and that prediction is wrong on the gold and silver prices, please come up and tell me why. But all indicators are pointing that gold and silver should be going up in the immediate future, which really, really pushes Highcroft into a phenomenal position for their new processing. Or there's a terrible mining accident at the mine and they get shut down for 3 months. Something like that. I don't know. There's not very many bad catalysts that I'm seeing in the stock. If you have one, If you have some type of catalyst that you think is going to be bad, come up and tell me, and I will not go after you. What's up, BJ?
Hey, Spence, how you doing, honey? Hi, guys. So I follow Three Aces, right? And I know everybody's not really happy with him, but he retweeted something, and I read the thread, and it was about another mining guy that was commenting that he feels that the price of gold is being suppressed, unnaturally suppressed, and he is on a mission to find out who is doing that. So I'm sad that I didn't save the thread because I really wanted to look at it deeper, but I am going to do some research on that because, look, if gold squeezes, I mean, that would just be amazing for us, for everybody.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's suppression on the price because JP Morgan has been very famously known for suppressing the price of silver for years. Like there's articles dating back to like early 2010 era that talk about JP Morgan controlling the price of silver. And of course, we also saw the same bullshit from them with the LME and nickel, you know, what was it, month and a half or 2 months ago? So I mean, you know, it's pretty straightforward to see that like it's very possible. And the other thing is that a lot of gold and silver both are traded paper as opposed to actually physical backed assets. So that adds another level of risk when you're going to get into an ETF or a somebody who's claiming to have the actual commodity instead of doing commodities futures or, you know, some of the other things. Because when you do the futures trading, you obviously take on the risk that if you hold the contract until it expire, then you have to take delivery, and taking delivery on however much that futures contract is tends to be very costly if you're not a producer or if you're not somebody acting as the the wholesaler to the next person in the supply chain.
Well, look at.
Would it be along the lines of naked shorting gold?
Look at 2006 to 2012. Gold went absolutely insane. It went from $345 an ounce to over 1,940, and that was on the backside. You know, people knew a market crash was coming before 2007. They saw over leveraged happen. You can see right where people started to realize that the market was over leveraged. And then you got 2007, you got Burry coming in the housing market bubble. 2007, 2009, gold starts coming back down a little bit. 2008 at the end of the year because they talked about, you know, they had the war going on. They had who was the Fed president then? Was it Greenspan?
No, Greenspan had stepped. I think it was either 07 or 08. Bernanke came in. I can't remember the exact dates, but yeah, Greenspan was right before Bernanke.
Right, exactly. There we go. Perfect. So Greenspan comes in, they say everything's fine, and then boom, Jim Cramer says bye, Bear Stearns. Gold goes through the freaking roof. Jim Cramer just said, and we know the market's crashing, right? He just said on the backside of a giant cup and handle forming on the gold to dollar price value chart that he thinks the bear market's over and we need to start buying stocks again. If anything, Jim Cramer is a freaking harbinger of death and destruction in the markets. Like he's going to tell you when shit's about to go wrong.
Except he's going to tell you the opposite.
Yes. I'm telling everybody, go look at the silver chart over the year on the monthly time frame and go look at the gold chart, and you have cups and handles and bull flags forming like crazy.
It's lines like that. Just one quick comment. It's lines like that, a harbinger of death for the market. That's why I'm such a huge fan of your YouTube.
Who are you, Deke? When did you start following me? Why do I hear your keyboard clicking?
I prefer to be anonymous because I protect my identity because it's unsafe on Twitter.
It is unsafe on Twitter, man. Lord Fed will come knock at your house and be like, "Hi, Spence, I'm here to see you about your YouTube channel, eh?" Dude's freaking nuts, man.
I want to add something about what we were talking about with the prices. So, I think again, this goes back to something that Three Aces has talked about. But this is a pretty widely discussed thing when you go through your, high school economics course or when you go through your college economics course. Is that the markets move in cycles, and the end of a cycle tends to be commodities. So when commodities start to go up, stocks, have already peaked and have gone down, and bonds are also on the decline, right? So, and then there's a chart that shows where the waves happen and what they mean. And right now we've kind of entered into this cycle where we've seen commodities start to go through the roof. One of which is oil. Oil spiked hard, and we've seen other commodities. I think I can't remember if it's platinum. Or lithium. I know lithium is kind of on the rise, but I mean, you've got these commodities that are all being very hotly traded right now. We had all the stuff going on with the LME not too long ago as well, meaning there's a lot of activity picking up in the commodities markets, and the commodity markets have been dead for basically since 2008, 2009, like the end of all of the all the mess that was going on. The commodities, they hit their point, and then nobody's been talking about them for over a decade. So it looks like we are at that point in the cycle where the things are typically to collapse, if you are to believe in that particular economic theory. It's worth looking at and going for a read. Things don't always follow those trends, but it is good to understand what they are, because a lot of the professional traders also trade on that exact same information. So keeping that in mind, you can kind of see where they're gonna move and who's gonna move to what, if you know the cycles and where things are. But you also have to be able to identify when the shift has been made in the cycle.
Well, look what just happened to gold. Funny enough, look what just happened to gold on 427. We were running again. We went back up to 1,906 an ounce, which was another resistance level prior to the peak at 1911. And then just boom, it just dropped off down to 1880. This is all around the same time frame that Highcroft has been coming out and talking about their new deposits, their new operations, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of people saying JP Morgan is trying to manipulate the price of silver. There's people talking about the COMEX has actually been a factor in this, keeping the price of gold and silver down. When you have nickel squeezing, lithium squeezing, rhodium squeezing, all these other types of elements squeezing out, but gold and silver are staying the same or not moving up as they should, it tends to make me a little bit suspicious about what's really going on in the markets. And I think my theory on it is all these big banks and funds are loading up on gold and silver and anything they can, while they can, keeping the price suppressed to get as much as they can before this next crash, which I think is going to be fairly big.
I want to add something into something that you posted earlier today about the rare metals in catalytic converters, and that there's been a lot of catalytic converter theft. And of course, I linked in the article from April 18th from Houston that was talking about people in Houston are stealing catalytic converters off of vehicles right now. So that's another of those like leading indicators to see that like people start to do that more, and it hits the news cycles more.
Yep.
When you're in that cycle of the economy, where things get to where people try to start hoarding commodities or hawking commodities in order to make a quick buck. This is a perfect example of that.
Jay Brett, this month alone, and that's why I posted the other day, I was walking my dog down the street and I saw like a 2012 whatever Toyota something or other going down the street, sound like an absolute freaking dump truck. And I'm like, somebody stole his converter. And then another car right behind him. I'm like, somebody stole his converter. They're literally ripping converters with hacksaws underneath the cars here in Albuquerque to take them to the recycling center. That's how much they're worth.
Yeah. it only takes like a few minutes for them to do it. And what's funny is you mentioned all three of the rare earth metals that are contained in there: rhodium, palladium, and crap, I can't remember the other one, but I think you had mentioned that one as well. So like literally all these rare earth metals, all these precious metals are being reaped, right? Like Texas or Houston specifically is trying to fight it. And I think they're trying to push for the whole state to fight against it, to where you can't go around selling them, en masse or whatever, and requiring tons of paperwork. But, at the end of the day, people are going to still try and do it. They're still going to try and hawk it, and they're still going to try and, move it regardless of if you regulate or try to catch them. But looking for those examples is a great way to see what's going on in the economic cycle.
Well, check this out. I went through my coin collection today, right? And I was just looking through it, and I found all my silver coins. I found my Morgan silver dollar, a lot of 50-cent pieces pre-71 that have like silver and stuff in them. And I'm not talking about it like I'm going to go melt them down or whatever. That's illegal anyways. But I was looking mainly at all my Buffalo nickels. And I'm like, holy crap. There's 60% copper or 70% copper, 30% nickel. And I'm sitting here looking through all these metals that we used to have in our coins that got taken away post 71 or whatever. And I'm sitting here wondering if the point, besides going off the gold standard, the point of taking any precious metals out of our money was so that when these increases in prices for gold and silver and nickel and everything do go up, the general population doesn't have it just sitting around their house. Because then people will want to try to cash in on it. That's why paper money is one of the biggest problems this country has. You can print it. It's not backed up by anything but our economy. If the economy sucks, it's worth nothing, right? In that, I have a silver note, $1, a 1957 A silver note dollar that I framed. Because I've been thinking about this a lot more. I actually got it. The arcade machine wouldn't take it in 2005. And I was like, I was trying to play Midnight Run or whatever that arcade game was called. But Maximum Tune. That's what it was called. The paper trading of gold and silver over time has caused a complete disaster in the market. And I think that's the problem with silver and gold. Is now everything can be traded on a paper note through the market instead of actually trading raw material, which is something that Sprott does. That's where the suppression's coming from. They've created this entire network of paper note traded certificates for gold and silver to keep it suppressed in the price ranges they want so they can overall control the global economy. It's absolutely wild. If gold and silver squeeze, there's going to be a lot of exchanges and a lot of banks holding worthless fucking paper when they can't deliver on the value of gold and silver. It's going to be really interesting. And if you haven't noticed lately, there is a massive rush for precious metals, gold, silver, nickel, lithium, everything. The amount of demand that the world is facing now for EVs, cell phones, laptops, and everything, I personally think has just started. I think we are at the 2012, hey buddy, buy some Bitcoin level on what we're looking at for the demand of precious metals going forward. So that's just my opinion.
Hey, Spence, thanks for letting me talk. I'm going to drop down the listener.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming in. I'm about done anyways. If anybody else has anything, sorry that Lord FUD and things got a little weird for a minute there. Well, if nobody else, go ahead, Deke.
Oh, I was just going to say, I only come for the weirdness. I'm too dumb to understand the rest of it. But I do enjoy a good show.
Yeah, it was a good show today. It was more fun than I thought it was going to be. I'm serious, man. People come out and they're like, on Twitter, Highcroft's going down because they burn so much cash and they told us the same thing about AMC. The exact same thing. And then the people, who were nervous about it and they've been like, oh, religiously follow Adam Aaron. He's right all the time. When Highcroft came out, they were like, what is he doing? And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. When I woke up and saw it, I was like, what in the fuck is he doing? But I've always questioned Adam Aaron on everything he's done as politely as I could. Not that I don't have faith in him, but my money's in this investment, not for Adam Aaron. It's in for me and the community, right? I want AMC to succeed. So when he said that, I immediately started diving into it and I saw the value and I ran this. I could have took some massive profit, and I did take some profit when it ran to 342. Was talking to Joey Cameron. I took what I needed, what I thought was responsible. I think I was a little too greedy, and I wrote it back down to $1.32 and bought more. I think this company fundamentally at $5 is a no-brainer. Once they have their full-scale commercial operations going, there's price targets from CNN and MSNBC and other agencies out there at $13 a share. Diane Garrett just radiates intelligence and confidence. If anything, I have faith in her as the CEO, which makes me even more bullish on my investment after reading her background and her success. And in that, if I succeed in this, AMC puts massive amounts of money on their books and pays off that stupid dividend that's not allowing us, or that stupid debt that's not allowing us to have a dividend. So I think Adam Aaron literally led us to the watering hole, but people are so spread out over all these different plays every day that we've diluted the retail base. And that's why AMC's sitting down at, what did we land at today? 1585, which is going to end up right below Max Payne on Friday. I think we've kind of lost the way. I think playing options and investing the way some people are is brilliant and you're making money. But if we're stressing about the play, but we're off deluding ourselves every day on other things, what do you want? Do you want to make quick money on day trading, or do you want AMC to squeeze? So even Trey, and I don't always agree with Trey, and you guys know that, he came out 2 weeks ago and said he had a squeeze play basket theory and put AMC, GME, Highcroft, Bloodbath and Beyond, and all these in a basket, and said, out of all these stocks, I think if there's going to be one stock to trigger a squeeze, it's going to be Highcroft because of its current setup and what's going on with the company. He said he believes that certain stocks that are going to squeeze first are going to end up causing the others to squeeze on the backside. I totally fucking agree with him, and I never say that. So I guess to end the call with just my sense, if anybody else wants to say anything before I close, go ahead. But my sense to end the call out is, if you have any real negative catalyst for Highcroft, DM me. A true negative catalyst, not, oh, they burn through this much cash a month. I already know that. I know how much cash they burn. I know how much cash they bring in, how much they have. Come and tell me something I don't know, and I will come on a call and discuss it with you. We'll let Omni Law come up real quick before I shut down. Where's Jen? The F.
So, I've been following. I'm still buying HYMC. I agree with everything you said. But what do you think is why do you think HYMC is not really getting the attention at the moment?
Well, I'll tell you, I did see that it was actually trending on Twitter. But the problem is people are so fearful of the gold mine investment because we don't know enough about it. That's why I haven't been doing any AMC videos lately, because I know the community is undereducated on what's going on with Highcroft. I mean, it's scary to think.
Well, I'm saying, how would you get awareness? It seems like a no-brainer. It's inexpensive. It's gold, inflation. I read everything you said, and I followed as well. I followed Diane. But, obviously, there's no momentum behind it. So, and obviously you can't go out and do this. Adam can only do so much. It's got to be up to the community. People have to see value in it. So, in terms of what we could do to raise awareness without crossing the line, how does that work?
That's what we're doing right here, just by having the call. Trey did it on his last video. If you're in the play and you're not hashtagging HYMC every other day, or you're not talking about it with people, or you're not learning more about the mining industry, then we're not increasing awareness for the play. If Highcroft squeezes or just succeeds, they could do either. They're probably going to do both, right? AMC is going to profit like freaking crazy off of this. AMC, if anything, Adam Aaron talked to these people and knew if we can make a solid investment and go from 27 million to 500 million in a matter of 4 months, they can use that to pay off a massive chunk of debt. That's huge.
No, I get the concept behind HYMC, but I'm saying in terms of, like, I mean, when I got an AMC initially, there was, videos, YouTube. It was pretty much between GME and AMC. That was the only thing you could hear about. And little by little, they became BBIG, a bunch of other ones and stuff like that. But right now, it's summer. No one's getting any stimulus checks or unemployment, but it's only $1.44.
Right.
So how do you get people to say, like, where do you create a YouTube? I'm not good at creating YouTube videos or stuff like that. I mean, I think that's how that momentum grows. Someone with a good amount of reach.
Anything you see that you agree with, if you see Trey talking and agree with him on this play, then share his video. That's how you do it. There are people out there doing it. There's a lot of new YouTubers doing Highcroft. Trey has been the only one so far that actually came in as one of the bigger YouTubers and put out some really good content. And his basket theory, I completely agree with. If we're going to increase awareness, we've got to tweet it, we've got to hashtag it, and spread it like it's AMC 2.0 back in pre-January. The problem is when the 8 movement started with GME, and then AMC caught on in January back in 2021 or whatever, everybody was focused on those 2 plays. Maybe BlackBerry and whatever. But now there's Mullen, Ader, freaking Lucid. There's so many plays the apes are spread out across that we're defeating our own selves. And I'm not going to talk bad about any of those companies, but
no, I agree. Yeah,
we need to reconsolidate as individual investors back on the same path, because we've diluted the shit out of ourselves across these other stocks that may have been pushed by people we're betting against.
So let me play devil's advocate just because I hear the counter argument. What would you say to those who think Highcroft is a distraction?
I would say that if you're in AMC, AMC doesn't own Mullen. AMC doesn't own Ader. AMC owns Highcroft, and Highcroft hitting $10 generates $400 million for AMC.
Good point.
I'm telling you guys, if you're out making money doing other stuff, congratulations. I'm proud of you. You should make money. I hope you're putting it back into AMC. But remember, if you're playing the options chain, no matter what, you're engaging in payment for order flow. You are directly funding Ken Griffin and Citadel, the enemy. If you're making other plays.
So, what do you think? I mean, it seems like, I heard his question about, people who say HYMC is a distraction, but technically Adam Aaron was the one who said HYMC. He didn't say anything else. So it seems like it would be counter for him to put up a distraction himself, wouldn't it?
He's probably going to come out with some other acquisition here pretty soon too, which I hope is a popcorn company. Hopefully it's not some type of investment that retail is going to go and shoot for. But Adam Aaron, I think he knew, and Roaring Rico had a theory video on this, that every time there's a share offering and it succeeds and goes out and AMC issues more shares and sells them, AMC takes off, has a big run. He made a very good argument on that. And I don't personally want a share offering, but here's the deal. If he's not going to get a share offering in AMC, the only other way to try to trigger any type of squeeze on a hedge play nonetheless is to go to another company and have retail start unloading some of the money there. Because right now, if everybody is truly saying what they mean, what they say, and they're going, oh, I made this play and I'm dumping into AMC. I personally don't believe it unless you post the trade. And if you talk about the trade, you should post it. But if people are really doing that and all that buying pressure is still there, then why is AMC still going down? So I think Adam Aaron knew he needed to to get some of the retail off onto an investment that would be good for AMC and catch the shorts by surprise in another mistake, which just so happens to be a gold mine, silver mine with a very well-known asset range, one of the highest in the nation for gold and silver, with a killer team behind it. I think they knew what they're doing. I have this theory that Sprott, Adam Aaron, Cohen, Musk, Diane Garrett are like the freaking Marvel Illuminati getting ready to take out these hedge fund guys. Because if these CEOs don't team up and start working together to upset these predatory short sellers, which are nothing but hedge funds, these CEOs run companies that employ Americans and people and make our growth domestic product. These hedge funds do nothing but vampirically drain the money out of our economy. They've got to upset them and take over.
You know, I'll say one thing. You know, I get the love for Elon Musk, but I really don't have a lot of faith in that dude. I mean, if anything, if he's spending this much money on Twitter, at any point he could have jumped into any of these plays and put pressure on it at any point through IEX with that much money. I mean, it's if some of these hedge funds are $35 billion in terms of overall capital, and he could have done that on each play or one of the plays and pushed it. I don't see him as that much of a savior. I mean, if people are spending on Tesla or Twitter instead of the squeeze plays in terms of retail, I just feel like there's a lot of faith in him that he's not there for us, to be honest with you.
Well, that's I think he did with Doge, man.
I think he did that with Doge. I mean, right now, like, think about it. AMC, all these, and GME, any of these, you put $44 billion into any of those, that would be it.
Think of this. Musk comes in and decides he's going to put $1 billion into AMC, right? And that was at $45. And then all of a sudden, the entire stock just gets dumped down to 15 like it did. He loses that money. He's trying to actually put rockets into space. He's trying to get the EVs on the road and keep people employed. And I get that some people don't like him. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I do want to say is if he takes any bigger risky investments like that, then he doesn't have the opportunity to do things like buy Twitter, where the retail community is extremely suppressed and attacked by big money.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to get Twitter. He already lost about $100 billion just off the drop of Tesla alone. If he'd have took that $44 billion and put it in either HYMC, which could have bought metals for his Tesla, I don't think he's bad. I just think, like, in terms of the use of his money, if anything, that $44 billion could have bought up pretty much all of Highcroft easily and covered their debt. They just dropped it.
I think owning Twitter and opening up free speech on Twitter to get the paid pressure off of retail. I mean, we're being suppressed by big money on Twitter, or we were. I think it's going to be an advantage, but don't forget that there is a pretty big, widely community recognized tinfoil hat theory out there that Elon is actually looking at any type of mine in Nevada for lithium production, which Highcroft is sitting right in the pocket of. So, all right, let's get these hands. I knew PJ was up. See if we can get her back up. Sugar, what's up, man?
Hey, Spence. Okay, so I have somebody asked a question from in the call, but they don't want to come up. Yeah. So they said like with HYMC, like we understand, like it's a good investment, but so the question was like, is there gotta be a way to pay off our debt, like instead of investing in, like I understand is with the HYMC. So they're asking me like, is there a way to just pay off the debt and do something with it, like with something with the stock manipulation? Is there any way to do it?
Are you talking about paying off HYMC debt?
No, AMC debt I'm talking about.
Well, I'm hoping...
Question is regarding, like, instead of having more, like, movie theaters, which movie theaters, I mean, I get it, it's a good investment. What he's trying to ask is there any way to just pay off the debt first and then, because the question was it started with AMC and then, it went to HYMC, which is a good investment. But is there any way we can just pay off the debt
Well,
and
here's my answer to that. Some of the debt that AMC has is like 2.9%. It's not worth paying that debt off with the $1 billion war chest that he has cash on hand if he can go out and make 30% off of that money, right? Not until we have enough money to pay off all the debt and be cash flow free. So here's my thing on that. We've given Adam Aaron multiple opportunities to do this. My most popular tweet was at Adam Aaron in the form of, we should sell NFTs, specific AMC NFTs at different rarity levels that retail can buy. But in the contract language, it says every dollar made from this NFT sale besides minting is going to go straight to paying off company debt. He actually talked about that in an earnings call. Or maybe it was an interview. He said, I've even got retail investors asking me if they can pay off the debt. I don't know if those cards are on the table, but we're looking at it. All they have to do is mint AMC NFTs at 3 different rarity levels, $5, $50, and $200, and sell them to the general public. But in it, put utility, where every now and then, randomly, anybody who holds those NFTs gets a $5 gift card or a movie ticket or a free popcorn. So there's some kind of utility for it. So not only do they make the money from selling those, but every time they change hands, they make a royalty fee. That's how you set up paying off AMC's debt with the current market structures with the NFT market, in my opinion. I think he's probably looking at that too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if not, you would have to do something called a shareholder loan agreement, where a shareholder can come in and decide to pay off the company debt. There are options to do that. The problem is retail's the majority owner. To consolidate all of retail into some fund or trust to be able to do that, it's pretty, there's a lot of work involved in it, so.
Okay, Spence, thank you, man.
Okay. Should probably go feed my dog. Anyways, like I said, my DMs are open. I think Highcroft looks phenomenal. The $1.30 bounce off of our former floor before the last run was epic. The $1.70 hit before that was good. We're sitting right around where we're going to be below max pain on Friday. I think Monday, Tuesday, we'll go for a little walk. We'll reclaim $1.60. If not, just dip first thing in the morning and come back up. I'm going to buy anything. Personally, myself, I'm buying anything under $1.40. I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm going to wait for the long haul when they become full-scale commercialized in 2023. I'm going to be watching Diane Garrett very closely. I'm going to be watching Highcroft closely, and Adam Aaron, which I think Adam Aaron's getting ready to come out and drop some news. Most likely he's waiting for earnings, which I think is May 5th. And also, you guys, go to the movies, buy the product. Go to GameStop, buy the product. AMC, buy the product. Go to Highcroft. Work for free. But I'm going April 30th, you guys, is the day the AMC fraud token launches. I highly recommend and protest everybody go to the movie theater, take a picture of you there, and put like fuck AMC fraud token or something like that. Because I filed a full whistleblower complaint with the SEC from start to finish this morning. That's filed. I have it saved on my laptop with a lot of material covering the people making the AMC fraud token. So I'll keep you updated on that if I hear anything. All right, what's up, Gold? You're going to close us out. What's up, man?
Well, I just wanted to address the people that are saying about switching, strategies around and everything like that. And currently, we're getting results, so it'd be a foolish thing to switch our strategy. I think everybody just needs to hold strong and to their conviction and continue doing what they're doing. We're obviously getting results because in the news, you're seeing hedge funds literally getting popped for,
yes, sir,
corruption.
Yes, sir.
So keep doing what you guys are doing. Appreciate the community. It's getting bigger every day. And appreciate you, Spence, for always doing your deep digging on all this and enlightening us on it and spreading the knowledge.
If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, man. I know most of you in here who come in normally. If I'm wrong, you tell me I'm wrong. You're 100% right on that. We might not be seeing progress in the form of total price action, but Bill Wang going to prison for 20 years, the threat, and his coworkers with him, the threat of that into the market has people freaking shook. I'll tell you that right now. He is going to roll on everyone. And this time, it's not the SEC in 2008. It's the DOJ. And it's a midterm election with a lot of Congress people and senators looking at what's going on. So I think personally, we have made amazing progress. If retail could all individually decide to get back on the same path and refocus the buying pressure on these stocks, I think we would absolutely break all these predatory short sellers. And not engaging in PFOF is a big start. So everybody, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I'm going to go walk the dog and feed him and do all that fun stuff. You guys have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow for the Matt Dubiel Senate candidate for Illinois. He's going to come in, answer some questions, but he said, I really want to hear what everybody has to say about the current structure of the market. So catch y'all tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Later, boss. Keep it up. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man. See you guys.
Everybody on YouTube, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for liking and subscribing. The channel is growing really good. I want to thank personally Miss Harris and Froggy Styles for sending people this way. Everything I say is not financial advice, obviously. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just doing research on the stock, what I think the company is doing, overall market conditions, and sometimes I'll tell you where I think the price action is going to go for me personally for my investment decisions. Please go out and do your own DD, because the more people that go out and do DD individually, the better total understanding of what's going on in the market the entire retail community can have. Also, please, if you're going to vote on the Highcroft proxy, again, make sure you know who you're voting for. It's just like Stephen Colanero being on the board of directors for AMC. It was pretty suspicious. Anyways, you guys have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm out. Froggy.